situation that occurs that sometimes people who are new to iOS development are not sure how to deal with is one of the keyboard appearing on the screen when you, say, touch on a text field or something like that for some text entry, and the keyboard doesn't disappear. And I'm going to show you 3 different ways that we deal with that you're most likely to need and to come across. And the 3 scenarios are this. Basically, someone clicks on a button within the application and we need the keyboard to disappear, or they click somewhere else within the application, or they hit the return key on the keyboard. But first of all, let me go ahead and run the simulator and give you an example of what I'm talking about and the situation we need to work with here. So I'm going to click, or imagine I'm touching on the text field here, the keyboard comes up and I put some text in. But notice that the problem now is if I touch somewhere else on the screen, the keyboard doesn't disappear, or I click on the button and it doesn't disappear, or indeed I hit the return key on the keyboard and the same problem. So the one we're going to deal with, we're going to break this down into several videos, but the one that we're going to deal with this time around is clicking on this button here and making the keyboard disappear. And so what we're going to do is, first of all, let's quit the simulator and go back to the code. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually split the screen here so that we can see the code and the display here at the same time. And I'm actually going to hide the organizer since we're not going to need that right now. And what we can do is, the first thing, I'm actually going to change this one here, and I'm going to add an outlet for the text field. So we're just going to call this one my text field and hit return. So we've got a reference for that, and now I'm going to add an action for this button. And all I need to do again is, this is one of the wonderful things I like about Xcode, just drag it across here and release, and I'm going to call this my button click. And all we need to do here is basically tell the text field becomes the first responder, and we need to say to it, go ahead and resign from being first responder. We don't want you to deal with this anymore, and pass control back to somewhere else. And you should look up in the documentation, what a first responder is. You'll come across that quite often. So if you don't know, go ahead and look that up. But basically, when I click on the button, we're going to say my text field, and we actually tell it to resign first responder. And so all we need to do is put that one line of code in here. Let's go ahead and run the application again. Now when I click in the text field and I type some text in and I hit the button, you'll see the keyboard disappears. And let's go ahead and actually deal with another quick way of doing the same thing here by touching somewhere else in the screen. It's going to seem a little bit unusual and it's going to seem like a bit of a hack, but actually this is the way to do this. And what we're going to do is, I'm just going to bring the controls back here, and we actually need another button, believe it or not. And what we do with this button, let's just hide that and make some more room, is we make this button the size of the display so it's actually covering everything up. And of course the problem you have now is it's covering everything up. So all you need to do to fix that is you're just going to basically go up to the menu here, and all you need to do is to tell it to move that particular item, move that button, and we just want to arrange and then send to back, and that actually puts it at the back of the application here, as you can see. But of course we don't want to see what it looks like here either. We don't want to see this button on the screen. So what we actually do is, if I just bring up the properties, we go in here, and you actually need to change the style of the button. And so all you need to do is go to here and say type is going to become custom, which is one that we can define. But in this case, the default for custom actually makes it transparent. So let me go ahead and hide here. And so you can see the same things happen now. Basically the button's there in the background, but we don't see it. And now all we need to do is add the code again. So basically right click, I'm going to bring it down here and insert a new action. And I'm going to call it my background button. And we just need to put in this exactly the same code as before. We need to say to the text field, my text field, I want you to resign first responder. We'll go ahead and save that. And now let's run it again. And so now I can put text in. We'll just put some characters in here, and I'll hit the button and it'll disappear. I'll touch on the text field again, it comes back, put some text in. This time I'm going to hit somewhere else in the application, so I'm just going to touch here on the screen and away it goes. Now what we'll do next time is we'll deal with the scenario for this return key here, which works a little differently, and we're going to be using something called delegation, which is very common in iOS development, and something that if you're not familiar with, I would certainly take a look at. We're not going to be covering it in the videos for this particular item. We may cover it in the future, but for right now we're going to be basically using delegation for this button to make the keyboard disappear. So we'll deal with that in a future video, and hopefully this has been helpful. Check out www.uibuzz.com for more videos. We welcome comments, suggestions, questions, and we always try to help. Thank you.